Well, good evening, everyone. Here we are for Webster Select Board meeting, dated April 21st, 2005, 6:30. Oh, I think somebody might just flown in here. The chair may be a little bit late with the bridge construction, so we'll give him a few minutes. I think I saw a car kind of come in.
Pledge allegiance out of
Oh, okay. Let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That is him. It looked like his car.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Is it?
It was a great
Well, we
car.
can do roll call, and then I think he's going to be walking in. Marlo Herrick
John Clark.
and
Dave Hemingway.
the number one guy's here. All right.
Sorry, my dealing with my 401k took about an hour longer than it was supposed to.
It's good to have a 401k. So there you go.
All right.
So I've done the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
All right. Or we all have.
So what's next on the agenda?
Well, we did the roll call. You said Dave Hemingway. Meeting and rules and procedures. We all know that we need to, act like nice young adults, right?
Yes.
Yep. Classroom, as you say. And then announcements.
I don't really have many for announcements. There is a right to know class that's going to be held in May at the Municipal Association. So if any of you have an interest in that, please let me know.
What's the date of that?
That is May 6th.
Is it you know the day of the week, don't you?
It would be a Tuesday, and I'm going to hand this to you, John, so you can have it.
Okay, thank you.
We have another
And
announcement.
then you can school us.
And that's all the announcements I have, but Russ has
I
one.
have
Okay,
one. I'm
Ross.
going to the town clerk's monthly newsletter to get sure I get the date right. And dogs must be licensed by April 30th. So we're at the tail end of that. So just make sure to get your puppies registered.
All right. Appointments. Can we go to that?
Are there any other announcements?
No.
All right. So then, yes, appointments. Our first appointment is with Amanda Elms.
Come on
Amanda,
up.
why don't you come and sit it right
Come on down.
Yeah. And don't worry, we're not gonna make you contestant. There's no money to win, so don't get excited.
Amanda is here to talk about being appointed to the Conservation Commission. She went to the OWL program that was held last Saturday, and she expressed interest then. And she came in to be signed up, which is great, but it's the board that has to appoint her. So I thought I'd invite her in so that you could meet her and talk about her interests.
Sounds good. Have you gone to any of the Conservation Committee meetings or anything like that? Oftentimes they'll recommend somebody as well.
Yeah, just
Process.
the most recent one,
Okay.
yeah, cause I had, they had put out an ask at the town meeting, so I had signed up, but then Chris contacted me to invite me to that meeting, so,
Okay.
yeah.
And
They have endorsed
they have?
their encouragement of that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So that makes that portion of it easy. So I guess I'll just start by asking you, tell us who you are, why you're interested, and if there's any specific portions of the Conservation Commission work that you're looking forward to the most.
Yeah, so my husband and I moved to Webster about a year and a half ago or so, and we then recently had our first baby.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. So he's
Congratulations.
almost 7 months old now, and I, up until very recently, was working for the Southeast Land Trust as their easement stewardship manager. They're located over in Epping, and long story short, I decided I didn't want to leave my baby, so I became a stay-at-home mom, and so I'm just looking for ways to continue kind of the conservation work that I love to do and feel strongly about. So I'm very familiar with conservation easements, the deeds, but also monitoring and being out in the field and surveys and that kind of thing. So I am excited about really anything that the conservation commissions are working on, whether it's a trail cleanup day, getting monitoring reports in for various properties that they have requirements for, or even just, you know, education and engagement in the community, anything like that. So, yeah, I just love conservation, and having land available for people to use, I think is great.
Awesome.
At your last, the job that you know, decided to become a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
What was some of the requirements to do that job?
So I supervised multiple people. I was responsible for ensuring that we got all of our easement monitoring done every year.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that was about 234 properties.
Oh, wow.
And that ranged, it's the southeastern portion of the state, but it went all the way up as far as Wakefield, all the way down to, you know, Southampton and London Bay, down there. So we had a large service area. I'd meet with conservation commissions in our service area, if they had either issues, or if there were landowners, or if they needed help with something. Different towns were at different places in terms of understanding conservation
Oh,
easement deeds
absolutely, yep.
and language, and
We all need to catch up at times. Yeah.
so I worked a lot with landowners, and I worked a lot with putting them in touch with the right people, whether it's a forester or someone from the UNH Extension Cooperative Service, getting their agricultural management plans in place or forest management plans in place. And then also doing the actual monitoring. We used Esri products, programs to do keep track of the data in the field, generate a monitoring report using our database. Also, I worked on putting together landowner workshops. So last year we did 2 while I was there, and then there was another scheduled while I was going to be on maternity leave, to have various folks come in and learn about topics. So we had one that was all about beavers and like how to, you know, work with them
Right.
and understand what they're going to do.
Yes,
to
right.
manage
And what could
issues
happen.
you have, yeah. So, you know, I had Patrick Tate from Fish and Game come in and
Yep.
give a presentation, and yeah, it's just all sorts of stuff like that. But yeah, I also worked on the enforcement end of things too, working with legal counsel when issues arose that needed resolution, enforcing the conservation easement deed with some abutters or landowners that didn't cooperate.
Yeah.
You might have said it and I might have missed it. Your degree is in,
I did not say it. I got my environmental science and policy.
that's where I was gonna go, environmental science, and I was gonna say environmental degree.
Yes.
Thank you for straightening me out.
From Plymouth State.
Oh,
And
okay,
then
great,
I did
great.
GIS certificate there, a minor in biology, minor in geography as well.
So we're both alums from Plymouth State.
Oh, go Panthers.
That's what I said for 9 years up there.
Oh, yeah.
Kidding, but I was, yeah, that's where I did my degree too.
Nice.
Nice, good.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that she just has a few qualifications.
Just a few.
Yeah, and I don't know how you're gonna vote, but,
I'd like to make the motion that we accept accept your willingness to do this.
a second.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
And we thank you, because volunteering is, everybody's gonna find the time, and it, you know, it's important when we do anything that we, always keep open minds, and it sounds like you've got a lot of that, background. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to make so much stuff happen with so many groups of people.
Yes.
Our
So-
road agent is challenged with beavers, and,
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying that as a joke,
Yeah.
he said, so it would be nice to have someone who understands that.
Absolutely. Well, we
True
all,
legit, you know,
we've all
true
had
legit-
challenges in beavers.
As are the local utilities.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Just-
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Did you make a motion?
We did.
And a second?
Yep, yep.
Would you
Were you
sign
here?
that? I was thumbing around for that
I'm kidding.
paperwork is what I was trying to do. Amanda, this is the paperwork that they're gonna sign, and maybe before you go, why don't you go down and see Mary Welch?
Oh, great.
And she's open, you can,
Oh,
you
perfect.
can be sworn
We
in.
just signed out,
Great,
right,
I'll
appointed
go do
by,
that.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, thank you.
yes, so thank you very much. Look forward to your engagement with them and
Yeah.
the expertise that you can bring to them.
Yeah.
Should I give this,
Yeah, give that to
There you go.
Amanda.
Great,
thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to old business. None is listed. Do we have any specific?
We don't really have any specific old business.
Okay. So that brings us to new business, Parks tree removal.
And I don't know, maybe that should have been old business, I don't know. But
Right.
we had talked last year, if you recall.
Yes.
We had a few trees removed down at the Riverdale Cemetery. And at that time, it was discussed there were more trees that were gonna have to be removed.
Yep.
I think the quote we have for the next phase was $9,900. And there are 4 trees in the, well, I think there's actually even more than that, but 4 significant trees over in the park across the street that we're gonna have to consider going. We have a couple of big old pine trees that are dead.
And I know for both the parks trees and at least some of the cemetery trees, we had put some into the municipal properties fund to be able
You
to
did.
handle that.
Yes,
so.
you did. And so, Brenda asked for a quote on the, trees at the park. She has the quote for the trees down at the cemetery, which was done by Mr. Dearborn in Hopkinton. The trees over here, Eric Gay could not do them, so she's waiting for a quote from someone else. Last year, I think Eric's quote mainly was about $1,000 a tree. Does that sound sensible to you? So I told Brenda I would bring it up to you, and I'll wait until we get a quote and see if that's suitable, but I don't think we're gonna get a better price.
Yeah,
I'd be very surprised.
as long as we're in the range of what we had
I
been
think
told
you're
to
within
estimate
what
and
you had
put
in your,
in,
yeah,
then-
I think you're
then I
okay
think
there.
that's fine.
Yeah. Did you want me, if it's more than 1,000, did you want me to come back, or did you want us just to go ahead and arrange it? Do you need to talk about it again, or, I guess that's what I'm really asking you.
Can I ask a question? What is the uniqueness of the tree that they're going to be $1,000 a tree? Are they in a dangerous area over buildings? Is this just a falling of a tree because it's dead and maybe dangerous to young children playing under it?
I would say that's it, John.
Okay.
The
So it's
second-
not a-
The second.
It's not a maneuverability of the tree creating the
The
price.
trees at the park, it's mostly,
A little bit of everything.
it's not that they're really
I'm not
hard to
familiar,
get to,
that's why
I'm
it's
asking.
just that they could be dangerous if they fell, and they have been.
Which is
dead
the
for
reason
quite
that
some
we're
time.
removing them.
Which is the reason
Yeah.
for removing them.
Please don't read in that
And
I'm against it.
Oh, yeah,
No, no,
yeah.
no, I didn't think so.
And
No, I
the-
mean, that was a good question, I think, yeah.
The reason that they're running more expensive instead of just knocking them down is because of the damage to the grounds that it would do, that would then
Okay.
have to be
And the
redone, would
cleanup.
be
Yep.
about the same amount,
Okay.
was at least the estimate that we
Okay,
presented back then.
just curious.
So,
The trees at Riverdale Cemetery are still gonna require a crane.
Crane, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and
Emmett
that,
mentioned
you
that.
know, and then you know,
Yeah.
and like, even the damage a tree can do when it's alive and you maybe have a bad limb, you know?
Now, historically, does Emmett get involved as far as kind of an oversight or?
Yeah, he'll be very involved.
Keep him involved in this, yeah.
Yeah. He recommends them, well, they're recommendable anyways, they're,
Right, you
Design.
know who they are.
Yeah. but yeah, they'll work together, for sure.
Good, okay.
just on the tree topic, while I think of it, whatever happened with the tree topic on the border of the, for lack of a better phrase, our new sand pit area?
Well, you had them removed.
Well, there was the ones that were on top of the sand, basically the sand that we were getting.
Oh, you mean-
And then there was
yeah.
this, whatever was going on with the neighbor and the neighboring trees.
I don't think
And I think we
anything
were
further
supposed to
happened.
hear back about
Oh,
that, but
I
I don't
remember,
remember
yeah.
hearing.
No,
anything.
I don't think we did. That was the gentleman on Dustin Road.
Yeah.
Yes.
And,
Yeah, when he came in with the
yeah.
pictures and wanted to take
Yeah.
this, yeah.
So that probably should still be addressed. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll
It's
just,
like, I couldn't remember where that was left, other than we were gonna hear something about
Right.
it.
So John, what that was is when Emmett had hired the logger to remove the trees, he was trying to be respectful, like as you do, there's a certain amount you leave between.
Right.
Probably should have had a conversation with the people, cause then a lot of times when you remove trees, as you probably already know, you can then have blowovers, and that's what the guy's really afraid of, because we pretty much took all the ones that would be the ones that would have helped them stay upright.
Prevent that.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
cause
I
it's always a challenge, you go, do you just strip it all, because you can have blowover, and it sometimes doesn't take much.
My question basically is, if we're doing these projects, and I'm sure you two are too, I'm just supportive and feel it appropriate to have Emmett as oversight, you know what I'm saying?
And he was oversight of the pit, I just think that
Yeah.
it's making those decisions sometimes that's hard,
Right. Of no criticality.
yeah.
well, and it involves, a significant amount of money.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's, again, part two of my question.
Yes, right.
Okay. Anything further for us to do on the trees?
No,
Okay.
no.
So that moves us to TDS Brookfield Circle request.
I'll let
Okay.
Russ speak about that.
So I
was
received a
that?
phone call from TDS. Apparently there's been a dispute between a landowner on Brookfield Circle, which is a paper road, who owns a back lot, who wants to have the telephone pole moved that's right at the entrance where Brookfield Circle would have been if it had been constructed. And he's saying there's an easement there, the telephone pole shouldn't be placed there. So a representative from TDS called and asked what the town's status is on the road. So as far as I'm aware, it's either a private road or it's a class 6 road. There's no record of the town ever accepting the road, and in the document in the road file, it mentions both. It's either private or class 6. There's two different references from, one's the board says it's a class 6. When I think it might have been a letter from an attorney that says it's a private road because it was never accepted. So it's a little bit ambiguous. But at this point, they asked if we could reach out to our attorney to spend the money to figure it out. But once again, it's a class 6 road or it's a private road. It really has already been abandoned by the town long ago. And I can forward him the information, but any other additional cost would have to be approved by the board. Because I think that's above and beyond,
How can we identify if it's a private road first?
that would take litigation. I don't think there's any way about going to an attorney and maybe having a judge decide what it is or what it isn't. That's one of the reasons I recommended you take the hard road to travel. They'll talk about this. Roads are one of the most difficult things
Well, it's
to
my lack
deal
of
with
knowledge. I
in a
just- I
municipality.
just would think there'd be some deed or something, a pin somewhere that would say
Yeah,
this
well,
is
there
yours
are
or ours.
pins, and there are, that's the
I
thing
mean,
where it
that's-
says
that's
that the
something
town
like
never
that.
voted to accept it. But back in the 1960s, there was no planning board, so the
Right.
plan was just filed with no input from the town. Some of the roads the town has taken via prescription, which means the town maintained them for so long that they're just town roads. Those ones never got constructed. It's just, that whole subdivision's kind of a mess.
Is there any sort of road access path, et cetera, that exists there now, whether we've maintained it or not?
So,
Or is it just
There's a
like trees and
driveway,
a pole?
there's a private driveway
Okay,
that's right next to where it would have been. And the owner in the back lot logged the property back there, so I think there's a little bit of a logging access there, but that's about it.
okay.
So it's not something that's been maintained by the town. The last record that even mentioned any form of maintenance might have been in 1978, and it was just a letter from the select board saying the town's not maintaining these roads. And it was one of the roads listed.
There is a letter that says that?
Yes, and there's also, like I said, a document which says it's a private road, so it's kind of,
Do you have, I mean, not here tonight, but can you get copies of those documents?
Yes. And I've already refurbished them to TDS, they have the entire road file with all the information we have.
So the bottom line, TDS would like the town to contact the town's lawyer
Correct.
to prove that it's in the town's right of way, so that TDS can do something with the pole. Is that
Correct.
right?
But the research you've done seems, just bear with me here, the research you have done, listening to what Dana is, and you have both said, seems to be the totality of the research that can be done.
Correct.
So what I'm trying to avoid is paying legal counsel to go out and do this research, when as what
In
you do.
my personal estimation, I feel that this is a private dispute between TDS and the owner on Brookfield Circle.
What's wrong with TDS's lawyer going out?
Correct, that's
I
my
mean, don't
point.
give, you know, I'm a direct guy and I don't mean to sound.
John, that sounds good to me.
I'm trying to
my
be
friend.
polite about it, but that is
I
also
just
my.
don't, I don't think the town
I
of
was already
Webster's
kinda thinking
taxpayers
that.
need to pay, with respect to the landowner, I get when you're trying to do something. But if it's TDS's pole, it's TDS's property, it's TDS's problem.
Right.
I.e., what's the problem we're trying to solve?
Now, my question would be, how, like, is this only covered by a easement of the Brookfield Circle Road? Or is it close enough to an existing road and right-of-way that we do maintain that the pole would be considered part of that
Well,
right-of-way?
one of the things is, and this would be part of the dispute, is that there's an existing access easement for him to reasonably get to his property through that road, and if there's a telephone pole right in the middle of the access, and that's where you're supposed to go to get there, it makes it very hard to drive a vehicle down there, even if there was a road. So say if he wanted to build a road there in the future, or go to the planning board and say, I wanna lay out a private road here, if there's a telephone pole right in the middle, he couldn't do that.
Right, but is this so for example, Brookfield Circle is obviously supposed to come off of another road. So is the pole like off of the other road, or is it like 50 to 100 feet up the paper road?
No, so it's right on where the town's right-of-way would be for the access, but like again, that goes back to what I just
No,
mentioned.
not the paper road. The
Right,
road that
Deer
it's
Meadow
off of.
Road,
Yes,
the pole is within the right-of-way
Of
of
Deer
Deer Meadow
Meadow.
Road.
okay.
Correct.
So then why is this an issue? Shouldn't TDS just take care of it because it's already within the right-of-way of Deer Meadow?
That's because TDS wants to keep the pole there. And the owner wants the pole moved so that he can eventually have plans to develop the road so that he can get eventually develop his lot. That's his goal, and the pole being there is a problem. And when TDS contacted the other owners in the surrounding area, they were not in favor of having a pole on their lots. So,
Well, that was my next question, where
Sounds like it's up
are
to
they
the private
intending to
owners.
place the pole,
yeah,
if it was moved?
that's the problem, is they can't find another place to put the pole. So we're getting into this sort of local land dispute that's really
Which I don't think we
not,
should get into.
Yeah.
that the
that's-
board should really stay out of, in my
I
opinion.
would agree.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Administrators' thoughts on that?
So
I would agree, I don't think it's our fight.
No, I mean,
And I would
I
hate
understand
to-
the gentleman
yeah.
having a concern, but I mean, this is a negotiable matter, if you know what I'm saying, at that level.
I mean, if
I
we
still,
want-
I don't even think we'd want the liability of us making that decision
I
personally,
don't disagree with you.
so.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an easier one.
So thank you for providing the documents to TDS. Please make sure, I'm sure he has them already, but make sure whoever the landowner is also has them, and let them do as they may with each other.
And keep the door open, I mean,
Yeah.
don't shut him out, but keep the door open.
Well-
I think you've explained it very well to us.
If they do escalate, chances are the town will need to provide more information to attorneys, and that will likely happen, but that's to be expected on something like this.
I suggest that an initial negotiation with TDS be attempted, and maybe a neighbor gets someone to work with them to see.
I think Emmett's been working with TDS
Well, there you
pretty
go.
closely.
Sounds good. So do we need to,
You don't need to do anything, I think we wanted to make you aware of it. We certainly will do everything we can to help, but we, I don't recommend hiring our attorney to do.
agreed?
And the next one's also kind of me, unless you wanna go over it.
Well, that's the,
Abatements.
SB 297.
Oh, I thought it was abatement. Oh, never mind. I'm after that.
Abatements is probably quick and easy, so why don't we let that happen ahead of time?
Absolutely.
Would you
So
like to?
I can just go over, so we've received abatements last year. And these are not the normal campground ones. These are official abatements that were filed on time. And that we deliver them to the town's assessor. Mandy has reviewed them and given her recommendations for the board. I believe on 2 of them. We have 3 currently.
We have 3, but she's given you a recommendation on 2 because one was a hardship.
One's a hardship.
Application.
And then I think Dana can speak to you on that one.
So did you wanna tell them what the case, what the question was and what the result that
can
she
do that.
recommends?
So the first one was for a landowner who disputed the land use change tax and the amount that they were being assessed at the value for it. And Mandy has determined that her assessment was correct for the fair market value. And let me just look.
When you say her, do you mean the landowner or the
The assessor.
The assessor was correct. And she's recommended to deny that one.
Okay.
So she feels that she can stand behind her
Stand
assessment.
behind her assessment. The other one was for a camper, and this was because the deck was valued at $800. And Mandy, once again, stands behind her assessment of the deck at $800. However, on this one, it's a little bit, whether the board really wants to push the matter on applying the bill, because it might be more expensive to not abate it than it would be
It would be a tax bill of about $12.
$12. And if we did pay it and went into leading and deeding, it would be more expensive.
Although it was an item that was there. April
Correct.
1st.
And I think even just because the bill is low, people should still have to pay their taxes.
So how much does that take? You said $12?
It's like $12
On an $800.
on an
Yes,
So
$800.
why,
And they are currently paying taxes?
The camper is no longer there. I don't know what's gonna happen in 2025, but as of
Correct.
'24, there was a deck located there, and as you know, taxes are as things stand as of April 1st.
what is the standard used by other communities? I mean, it's one of those items you could go one way or the other.
Like if they're registered, they don't have to, you know,
Right.
you can't
And
tax
his
them.
camper was registered, however, the outbuildings are still taxable.
Has anybody I'm just asking, has anybody contacted this gentleman?
I've been in contact with him a lot.
What has he said about the structure of this area? Is he gonna be moving it, or
I mean, I
putting
think the
another,
structure's already gone at this point, cause he's no longer there.
what I mean, is he gonna be putting another camper up against it, or what's the?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think he's no longer renting at the campground.
Yeah.
So the deck is not there anymore?
Correct. Would be my assumption. I'd have to contact Joe DePrimo to see that, and he's the owner of the
So the
campground.
structure isn't there anymore, is what I'm hearing.
I don't think so.
Do we really wanna, I don't think we really wanna go out there and,
My only concern there would be setting any precedent.
That was-
Hey, just do whatever and then not be parked there anymore, and,
of course, that's the other side of the
Yeah.
coin with some of the other structures in town, too.
Because this is one of the
Well-
ongoing frustrations with the campground, is we
I'm
get
pretty-
into these situations over and over again.
Well, I was gonna say, but we've written off a lot, more than $12,
Oh, yeah, you have.
Yeah, we have.
so.
I mean, what have we done in other,
200,
yeah,
so,
but that's usually because like they're no longer there as at the campground, and so.
Or if it was
there's
registered,
nothing to,
but it wasn't listed on Joe DePrimo's list that it was registered, and then the camper
Yeah.
owner sends me their camper registration, which shows it was registered on April
So,
first.
so those
Just
abatements
didn't
are
have
all
the stickers.
fixing errors.
This one wasn't an error.
This one is not an error.
I,
It's just comes down to, sometimes it's more expensive to enforce than it is to,
well, it's a double-edged sword.
right.
No matter what, you're damned if you do and no good deed goes unpunished.
Believe me, Dana and Karen have this conversation.
oh, God.
But I just
all the
don't see, you know, if he's moved the thing and he's complied, that's worth $12 to me to not charge him, but.
Yeah.
But but I'm not trying to force anybody's hand.
So you say that this may cost more than the 12. How does it cost us more to send a tax bill?
If it gets liened and deeded, there's additional costs in the liening and deeding process, such as setting certified letters,
Right.
and then paying to have the lien request, isn't it recorded? I believe it's
Yes.
recorded.
And
at
can you,
$25.
but the land is still there and he still owns the land?
He doesn't.
He doesn't
No,
own the
land.
No.
Okay,
This is on the-
okay,
this is-
I'm ready to sign.
And this is why you have signed a lot of these abatements, because of the problematic, situation we'd be in to try to lien something like that.
Yeah, that's not, you have nothing to
So
leave.
The state changed the law a number of years ago and included campers, and I had a case with several 40-foot trailers that a guy kept on his property. And it was a very difficult thing keeping track of, you know, which was there, which wasn't there. Some of them he was using for storage, some of them he wasn't. You know, it's a great idea that the state has, but then you have to work with it.
So Marla, let me clarify and educate me. You're agreeing with not paying the 12 or making him pay the 12?
No,
I agree with that.
yeah, cause even if he,
Well,
we got nothing to grab, it'd be like saying, oh, I want those shoes, but they're not there.
I mean, not to drag it out, because we get going down in the weeds on these, but I think it's good to have the discussions.
Yeah,
Because
well, you had some
I've
good
learned a little bit
questions,
here.
yeah.
You know, but with that being said, I just don't wanna, this is what I meant about this whole code enforcement thing, you know?
Yeah.
Do you chase the tails of cats, or do you chase those dogs that you can catch, okay? And I just, sorry
You
for the
know what,
analogy.
there's no dog to catch, so,
Right, there you go.
I'm gonna sign away.
I'm gonna sign it.
So
That's a very good
Oh, so
analogy.
if you're gonna abate
Yeah.
it, don't
Oh,
sign it.
this
there you go.
looks like it's saying that we're denying.
Yeah, that's the denial. So if you don't want to deny it, if
Right,
you-
I don't wanna deny it.
then you won't sign
Oh,
that
good,
one.
okay.
Okay,
And-
saves us, thank
And
you.
then we'll
Anyways.
prepare an abatement, and then
And we
we'll come
sign
with
the
an
other
abatement.
one, but not the.
Right.
And publicly stated, I sincerely understand your frustrations with these things, it's
Yeah.
just,
Okay,
Well,
this
that's
is the
one of
land
the
use
things I
change
think a
one.
conversation needs to be had between the
So we
board, the
Right.
tax collector, and us,
Yep.
to figure out if there's just a certain cost threshold where we just say,
right, I
not
agree.
worth it.
That's part of developing the program.
And we will process the other
And
one.
this is for the land use change.
And that's hard, because right now, things are so, I mean, I just went through it myself and.
And they're
paid.
continuing to get more crazy.
Yeah, so it doesn't seem, I can understand why they would ask, because it doesn't almost
Yeah.
seem fair.
Webbing's dribbled down to small to communities, and I think we're gonna have to be more, strategic in how we deal with these things.
Thank you.
And fair.
Yeah, and it's not, not something we both all want to decide, to be
No.
honest with you.
And that's the point that we try to do as best as we can here, is to try
Right.
to make sure it's fair.
The last one we received was, people are allowed to apply for an abatement for hardship cases. And I'm not aware that you've ever given a hardship case. When I looked into this, the tax bill has been paid, so, I don't think it's needed right now. Certainly if someone needed something from the welfare department, they could come and talk to the welfare department.
So they have not come to
No.
discuss anything?
No.
Now, what is the, since we haven't dealt with them, what are the typical requirements for the hardship abatement? And is it a full abatement, or is it like a delay in payment or a payment plan availability?
Well, there is no real standard. It's up to the board to decide
Okay.
what they feel is best in their view. I have never known a community to give a hardship abatement, unless there was there was a fire involved.
Hmm.
And so,
It would get very messy.
you know,
It's
it's,
sticky,
yes,
because can you imagine
it's,
doing one?
Yeah,
Ugh.
you know,
especially without a standard.
Right, without
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
some guidelines at all.
Okay, so, without going through and reading more, my inclination would be to encourage them to, if they are having a hardship, talk with the tax collector, who does have authority to set up payment plans.
And
that would be
they,
probably the best.
they don't need one till
Right,
it's
because they paid it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway, that was the last.
Do we need to sign anything on that, or?
No,
I think we have to prepare something, don't we usually have to get a response, or you're gonna take
I'll,
care of it?
I'll write a letter.
You'll write a- okay.
Yeah, I'll write a letter.
Sounds good. Does that cover all of the abatements?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, so let's go back to SB 297 and risk assessment.
So you would ask me to put that on the agenda, and, this relates to the, insurance pools. The law would change how the reserve for the pool would be calculated or handled. NHMA, which is associated with Health Trust, and Health Trust has a separate board that regulates their business. And basically, it's health insurance for the communities. I would say 99% of the towns in New Hampshire have Health Trust. And so there's a real concern in Health Trust side. They recognize that their reserves have dwindled in the past few years, but they're working on building them up. Whereas 297 would require that they are built up within that year, immediately, that the rate would be adjusted. And do I have that right, Dave?
Sort of, I think, but go
And
ahead.
to build up those reserves, that would probably trickle down to all of your, the only thing I've ever had for experience is we had a self-insured group. And yes, I think you go through some of those waves of growth, decline, and then all of a sudden, you're not quite where you need to be.
Right.
But in the meantime, as you are working it, you're building it up, but otherwise you could put them right into a tailspin if you
Yeah.
get too crazy with that.
His understanding is slightly different than what mine is, but reading NHMA's thing, that sounds correct. But when I read the one directly from Health Trust, it sounded a little bit different. So I'll explain what I think it is based on that. And so Health Trust's concern was twofold. But the majority of it was, yes, their reserves have dwindled some. But Health Trust believes that they should have a reserve amount that's fairly large. And the bill basically says you shouldn't have that large of a reserve. You should stay at the lower level.
The what? The what does?
That the lower reserve
No,
level.
the bill does, you said?
The SB, whatever.
The House
Senate
part.
bill.
Okay, so say that one more time, because maybe I have
So-
it backwards.
So my understanding from the Health Trust communication was that their reserves did get a little bit smaller, but Senate Bill 297 is saying basically keep your reserves low so that you can continue to give back money to the towns. And the Health Trust is saying, but that doesn't give us a large enough reserve to be able to handle when unexpected things happen. And
I
the
didn't understand
actuarial amounts say that we should have a larger amount.
Then we do.
And so we're working on getting towards that. What the Senate Bill 297 being small, Health Trust has stated they simply won't be able to continue operating. The counter from that, if you look in the packet from I think it's the AG's office, their portion is to say, well, they haven't traditionally gotten to that level that they go towards. And so that's part of why this exists, to say, well, they shouldn't. But the other portion of SB 297 is to bring it back to the towns and municipalities themselves, stating that if you're going to be part of one of these risk pools, you must have a fund at the town that is funded at least 1% of your total amount that you would pay per year, and then stay at 4% of that total amount continually. And so it would mean that we would have to set up
Our own
and get
little-
voted for
Our own little bank account in a sense.
an account with the
Right.
trustees that is 4% of everything that we pay to Health Trust if we wanted to participate in Health Trust, because part of SB 297 says anything they put out, especially if it is non-normal or would make them fold, they must charge the municipalities for within the year. So it's shifting, basically the same stuff happens, but it means that we have to hang on to that in the trust as opposed to them hanging on to and managing the whole thing in the trust. And then more oversight happens, but more fees from New Hampshire to Health Trust happen as well. So basically they're trying to rewrite how risk pools work in New Hampshire.
Who's sponsoring the bill?
I don't know the name of the senator.
If you give me a second, I'll look it up.
And what is, David gave a good explanation, what is the key question is, why is that senator promoting it? Is the NHMA contacted him to promote it, or her? I don't know.
I don't believe the NHMA is in favor of it, so it's.
Okay.
Yeah, NHMA and Health Trust are both against it.
Yeah, they're not in favor of it.
And the AG's office kind of settles somewhere in between.
They seem to, it's the.
AG's office seems to be for it.
Yeah.
The sponsor is Representative Senator Sharon Carson, Republican out of, it's not showing me in the link that I clicked. Should go to the actual
Senator or legislator?
senator. Sharon Carson. Let's do it this way.
And of course, the other question, and it's not a question, but the other point is what is the cost? The cost factors, I'm sure you,
For us, it really is not a significant
Really?
cost. I mean,
Cause it'd be
significant, but it's not.
4% of whatever
Yeah.
you pay in
Yeah.
now,
About
over the year.
approximately $1,500.
oh, that's all?
Yeah,
District 14, Auburn, Hudson, Londonderry.
yeah.
So should we be,
It matters much more to a larger community.
should we be educated on it more by someone who can speak to it from the NHMA or from some other organization, and what are your thoughts?
How much did you say that 4% was?
About 1,500.
Oh, okay.
It's not a lot,
You
but
know, I'm figuring that we spend between 30 and 35,000 a year.
Mhm.
in healthcare costs
Yes, yeah, for health insurance.
for our employees.
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of a new, new twist on time, so
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying?
Reserves are, like I said, over the last, pretty big trust that grew from 1998 to now, and, yeah, I know we found ourselves in that little area of this, and the way it was, in finding a new way to support it. Though the Department of Labor is one that tells us, but it is an interesting, and your actuary studies, and everything's a guess,
Yes.
Yeah, and selling
at the end
it,
of the day.
selling it to, I had to
Like you
take
said,
quite a direct read on this thing and try, and then I still don't totally understand it, I'm gonna be honest with you. And then, trying to sell
People
it.
write it, I don't either.
So, no.
People read it, I don't
Yeah,
either.
well, yeah, and then trying to sell it, not selling it, but collaboratively getting the taxpayers to understand why it's got to be done. You've got to have healthcare.
I think basically what it boils down to, whether if you support it or not support it.
Right.
Health Trust would like you to join with them and sign
And
the,
you're our provider, right?
sign the.
They are a provider.
Yes, so we
They're the
get-
provider of most of New Hampshire's
Right,
municipalities. One thing that I think is interesting in the communication is that if you are considering advocating against the bill, they suggest that you oppose it as currently drafted, but ask them to support amending it so that the Department of Insurance becomes the regulator of risk management programs, as opposed to the way they're trying to do it, which I think puts it under this Secretary of State or something like
Secretary of
that.
State, yeah.
Yeah. which sounds reasonable, but is also like,
But why?
yeah. Well, to me, it's, Health Trust is trying to be more insurance-like, as opposed to,
Regular.
we're just managing some sort of risk over in random land.
Right.
And the Department of Insurance will have more information on appropriate actuarial amounts and so on and so forth, so it would seem like a reasonable thing. And in theory, would also be less administrative cost and less cost to taxpayers, since it's already there.
What would be the best sensible approach? I'm just gonna make a couple of recommendations, and you two, feel free to jump all over me if not. Having Dana reach out and and you might have already done this, so if I'm being recidivist here, by all means tell me. Reaching out to NHMA and getting someone to speak with you about it, or having a representative come up and talk to us about it. It's a minimal amount of money, but I mean, just so we're well educated on what we're doing here, because it's obviously a statewide effort.
They have, I did attend a webinar that they had on this subject.
Yep.
So they have reached out and done quite a
Okay.
few things. Now, I certainly would be glad to talk with them about having someone talk to you about it. I'm not sure what time frame we're against. I think the time frame is
Tight?
is tight.
Yeah.
I guess it's a confusing bill to me. I mean, so I thought I had it, but I was a little confused, I think, on that. I think what bothered me a little bit was the statement from Health Trust saying that, they would have to go out of business and not offer insurance.
Well, that's a problem. I heard somebody say that.
And it would be a problem.
Yeah, that's a major problem.
That would immediately dramatically increase the cost of every municipality,
Right.
replacing Health Trust with normal insurance plans.
Right.
Yeah, so, it's certainly something to,
Not another trust person when
Consider.
you come along. but-
Well,
so I don't know, John, if I could get someone at this juncture in time to come and with the logistics, talking to the board about it.
my colleagues seem to be a bit like I am. David, you seem to have a little bit better handle on it. Marlo, how do you feel? Do you feel we should hear more? It's tight time. I mean,
We're such a little,
little limit, little,
yeah,
little
we're
cost.
so little in
Yeah.
the whole big scheme of things. So let's say it doesn't, like, we can't, something happens and we have to come up and put $1,500 aside.
It's not a big to do.
It's not gonna
Well, so basically,
make or break it.
there's kind of three things, right? So one is, doesn't pass, nothing happens, things stay as they are. And then, great, we know how that works, we go through the budgeting process, Health Trust gives us, estimates, great. Second could be that it passes, and Health Trust does find a way to survive within it. In which case, then, yeah, it's probably, we open up the trust fund of $1,500, and we probably spend like $100 or $300 less on the amount before it gets increased, so probably the same amount. But, probably not much of anything changes if Health Trust manages to stick around. The major concern, and why I wanted to make sure that we talk about it, is that Health Trust has just flat out said, if this passes as written, we will cease after 2026. And if that were actually true, that would have a drastic impact on it. Instead of being the 35 to 40, whatever, we'd probably be in the, 50 to 60 range.
Well, what has motivated the senator to do it, number one? Number two, I agree with everything you said. Number three, not hearing from someone who is in the network of the Health Trust troubles me. Because I wanna hear, I would like to hear, want to and would like to hear their official take on it, so they could more or less support what we are thinking.
Their
They're,
document, because I wanted it included in our packet.
and I'm not sure if I think they call him the director, has had a few webinars about it, and I might be able to pull together some.
Or if
Things
something
from
you
you.
could, I mean,
Yeah.
good enough to do, but if you could reach out to somebody to educate us a bit better.
What's our time frame?
I would have to
We've
check.
already had crossover days, so if it passed in the Senate, they're gonna be voting on it sometime in the next few months, I would guess.
It's coming, I'm not sure if there's a date set, but it's
I
not
mean,
far.
you take somebody like Manchester.
Oh, incredible, yeah, that
Well,
will affect, yeah.
you know what I'm trying to say, I mean, I don't wanna see them go away, they can't, you know.
Right.
That's
No,
gonna be a
neither do I.
disaster,
I
if you know what I'm
agree.
saying.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think,
Hmm,
you understand?
So
Not a little
the-
$1,500, but the future.
Right,
So it was voted as ought to pass with some form of amendment. And let's see what that was. On 3/20, and then it was introduced into Commerce and Consumer Affairs, and is having its public hearing on 4/23, so in 2 days. So it would be, if we wanted to do something, it would be writing in. No, so the amendment is like, as long as the initial bill, and adding all sorts of other stuff. And additional contingencies and so on. So, maybe that's what they were worried about, was the amendment. Yeah, I think it was the amendment, because the other stuff doesn't change quite as much. So the amendment is much larger than the bill as introduced. And the bill as introduced, I think, is mentioning the percentages and stuff. So, yeah, the 12% for contributions and so on. So the original is what's been being talked about, and what all of the hoopla has been made of, but there have been amendments since, which are just as large changes to the bill. So, yeah, I think I would like to hear or get a direct letter from Health Trust, which they probably have available, of what they think of it as amended before we consider doing anything, even though the hearing is in 2 days. But that would be the Senate hearing, and it has not currently touched being that it's the Senate, and they've hung on to it and continued to work with it. It has not actually crossed over into the House yet, so it would then need to, oh wait, yes it has. So that's the Commerce and Consumer Affairs in the House that has the public hearing in 2 days. Because it came out of the Senate as ought to pass and voted that way, but with the amendment. So I find it weird that they're sending us lots of stuff not talking about the amendment.
yeah. That
Which
is
would-
weird. And you're saying the amendment is almost large,
The
longer
amendment
than
looks larger
the
than
original.
what the original bill change was.
Yeah,
So not to ask, but attending the hearing, would that be something worthwhile for you to do or not? Not to give you extra work.
I could,
I mean, that, to me, then you hear all the arguments, and we're trying to champ through this thing.
Well, so to public hearing, the point, like, you could just watch it and it's all recorded
Right.
and put out. The point of the public hearing would be to say you are for or against something, and if you wanted to speak at the public hearing, to say why.
Right.
And then try to convince them of that.
But you hear both sides of
I'll-
the,
Yeah.
again,
So,
or listen to it.
I think if we wanted to just find out information, it would be good for us to kind of listen in on the public hearing, or like get a transcript of
Sure.
that portion of the public hearing. But it'll be too late for us to really do anything at that point.
Right.
Other than, at some point, it would go up to an actual vote in the full house after the public hearing. And you could, like, we could write our representatives about it. But that would be about the only thing that we could do there.
On its
at that
face,
point.
it seems worthwhile. And
Mhm.
with the loss of the insurance, I
Yeah.
can say forecasted maybe, You know what I'm saying? And that's without knowing a lot about it.
Right. So it's more of a, we should know about this, we should know that it's possible coming, and if it hadn't had the amendment, maybe would have made some sense for us to try to take a position and just like write a document and submit it to the online
Right.
public hearing, but I don't think that really makes sense at this point.
And your
Since
reading
the
says it.
information we've been given is not really talking about what's actually being considered anymore.
Your reading says it is likely to pass.
So
It
I'll
does
plan
sound
to
like
get
it.
a transcript of the public hearing.
I think that would be
Yeah.
good.
And when I said a 10-day, no, I didn't mean,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I'm trying to say, if you can do it online, that's great.
Well, I just know when you go to the, I mean, if you're going to many of those hearings, you are signing up to speak.
Right.
And it would be good not to make a fool of myself.
No, I don't think we need to make any comment,
Yeah.
I think just
Yeah.
get some knowledge so we know.
Right.
And I think the health trust is just trying to say they don't want it. Do I think that they'll fold, and do I think there's no other competition out there for that? No.
Yeah, because
I might know a few that probably would grab right hold of it, so.
Right.
His health trust thing is that their actuarial upper limit that they're trying to get to is approximately 20% of contributions per year into the reserve, and that the upper limit of 12 with a ability to say, hey, we should really be 16, will you let us do 16, if the state approves it, is too low. But again, that's kind of what the extra contingencies that each municipality holds, so. As much as I want to suggest that this is important, I don't think that we should necessarily take a particular stand on it.
But no, I don't disagree, I just wanna know, you know, what the end result could be.
Yep.
So I don't think anything we say is gonna matter at this point anyways.
No, but I also wouldn't panic, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
just.
I don't wanna
listen.
get between here and town meeting and then realize that some other organizations come in and roll them over and here we are. Just caring for the town, so.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right,
Sorry to be so lengthy.
well,
Oh, no, this is exactly why I wanted it on here, so we could talk about it and kind of know about it.
wonder,
Because
no.
as much as we
Yes.
generally try not to be involved in the legislative side of things, sometimes it's.
Well, it
it's
can
at least-
affect you pretty
yes,
hard, that's
it can-
why.
It can have a larger effect, and this is one of those things that could, so.
It could spank us financially.
But not without us knowing and being
Right.
able to budget for it in future years, so.
No, you're right.
Any comments or questions, or was that just a stretch? Oh, just stretching, okay.
Because that was so exciting to talk about.
Yes,
You guys all right? Because I'm about to nap.
Get you guys a pillow here.
Right.
all right. So that moves us to our last of the new business, which I think is actually old business, but perambulation with Boscawen. We had some messages come in requesting to do this. I believe this is the one that Dee was actually gonna take care of with her, the person that she
Right.
knew.
Bill Bevins.
But this is now a different request coming over, so I guess that didn't actually happen.
Yeah, that didn't happen,
Though
so.
that
I
makes
could
sense
solve
being in
Barry.
the middle of the winter, so.
That was kind of cool. I never even knew what all that even meant.
Yeah, so one of the administration's favorite words to say, perambulation. I guess we'll briefly explain what that is. That is basically walking the border with Boscawen, in this case, or whichever town, to state that, yes, we still think the border exists here, and we found the things that say this is the border. As you did Salisbury's, any other comments, or?
No, it was just kind of cool. You know, we went out there, we met it, looked at it. He knew people I knew, we knew people he knew.
So
But it was neat to see what they're saying, because you don't think of that. But, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, that this does not actually have to be a member of the select board or even staff to do it, correct? It just has to be someone
A
appointed
volunteer.
and said.
Mhm. You can appoint a volunteer if you wish.
So, yeah. That has been requested by Bosco. Boscoman? Yeah,
Boscoman, yeah.
Boscoman. For
Bring your,
some,
bring your boots.
Well, that one in Salisbury, we just
Yeah.
said drive to.
would it make any sense, as they're used to finding all of the markers and stuff, to suggest that the planning board should appoint somebody to go? Or does anybody here have interest in wanting to go do that?
I don't care. I find it interesting, so.
You know,
Whichever.
I'm the new guy on the block here, so I mean, I have no problem doing it. I'm not, you know, I don't wanna step on someone's toes if someone enjoys doing that whenever I.
No, I mean, it's interesting. Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, and you'll meet up with the guy and they'll
But
go
we have a lot of
over.
history buffs too, and I don't wanna stand, you know, I don't wanna, you got
Fair.
historians in towns too. But
I
I'm,
think
but I'm
you could
happy,
ask the Historic Society if someone wanted to.
why don't you, that's a good idea. Why don't you, if you want to try that, if not, I'm happy to be the backup, whatever they.
Okay.
How's that sound, okay?
All right,
That sounds perfect.
Perfect.
very good.
I've never done something like that before, I mean, I've obviously done.
And it's neat. I think it's worth, I don't know, maybe it's just I had a good experience. Didn't even know what I was getting into.
Yeah,
I think it's probably kind of fun as long as you can find the stuff.
Yeah.
Having done some of that with plats and stuff for subdivisions and so on with the planning board.
Well, we try to do it
It
every
was
day in our
interesting.
business.
Fair.
if somebody wants to.
And
do
it's
it,
not fun when
that's
you're
fine.
looking for that
Okay.
little, ooh,
I'm, you know, I'll be the support if we don't find somebody.
perfect.
We will look up previous ones, that's usually what they do, is look at a previous one and see what they found, what they didn't find, those types of things.
Okay.
Okay,
Do we have any other new business?
No.
Okay. That moves us on to correspondence.
So in correspondence, I got this one today, which I think is worth noting. Or actually, I guess it was Friday afternoon when it came. It's from the Warner Planning Board.
Okay.
And they have a proposal by Concord Area Trust for Community Housing for a single building that is going to have 48 units. And they are asking, sending to area towns because it may have an impact on other communities such as the extra population.
Is this the one that's on the opposite side of the highway from like Market Basket and stuff?
It's near Market Baskets, property next to Dunkin' Donuts on Route 103 near Exeter.
Yeah, because I think they've been trying to do something like that for a long time. It's probably been
Yeah.
6, 7 years, if
No,
not 10 years.
This is the one that says like vacant lot available, et cetera. But the place that had previously been trying to do this was on the hill on the opposite side of the highway from Market Basket. So that's a second different property from this.
Yeah, no, this is on the
This is
Warner
on the-
side of the.
No, but
normal
so we hauled in a bunch of material for them and he talked about doing something like that there probably, I'm thinking now,
I
6
thought
years
this
ago.
was also where they were doing their large solar array that they were trying to.
I just remember the apartment thing. He was showing us it was supposed to go.
But yeah, I know they've had several different attempts at trying to get apartments in several different properties. And,
But it's that end of the world.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not really on our end of the world.
Yeah, I look at it as,
And then
maybe I'm being naive, but I look at it as it's basically downtown-ish Warner. It's
Well.
right next to their police department and fire department.
Yeah, like
so
you can't get any closer.
It's really
Their
not gonna affect
schools,
us.
not our schools at this time,
Right.
so.
Might
Yeah.
make a longer line at Market Basket.
It might, but then, you know, I go, one thing about Webster, you can go left, or you can go right,
Uh-huh.
that's correct.
so.
Okay, well, I wanted to bring it to your
Thank you.
attention.
Yep. I would suggest, forwarding that to the planning board if they haven't already seen it.
Okay,
But-
I will do that. They're accepting written comments until May 14th.
That should give them some time.
Yeah, I'll bring it up at the meeting.
Okay.
Got anything else over there?
That's it.
I guess, before we go on to public comment, I wanted to bring up one thing that has been kind of an ongoing plan of mine for a while, that we are now kind of getting to the point of being able to do. And we'll be talking about it and whether it's still possible in the budget season. As you're all well aware, we have Clothespin Bridge that's being replaced, and we've had a fairly substantial 400 grand and change amount in our Bridge and Culverts Fund. That of course is, a lot of that is going out towards the bridge, but we'll get reimbursed as it comes back in towards us, since we're not paying for the majority of the bridge. And I say the majority because we do still pay for some engineering, but all the construction costs, et cetera, are covered by the state and feds. When that comes back in, essentially it will be extra money that would then come into our fund, through the general fund and then into the unassigned fund balance. And so we have another major infrastructure project that is currently happening, and that is working on the new sand shed up above the safety building. That should have a finished access roadway and place to put a sand shed based on the funds that are already in that account, to be able to do that. Marlo is going to be working with Emmett on figuring out what the structure should be that will sit up top and kind of where that would site. And if we are at that stage where we basically have the access path, the road, and we know how much we want for what kind of building, then at the town meeting, we can say we'd like to take this amount that we got back reimbursed from our unassigned fund, put it into our sand shed preservation, I can't remember the name of the fund, but
Highway.
that particular fund for this purpose, and then that can get built, and we won't have paid any additional taxes for it. It will be stuff that we've already saved, already have, and that can help us mitigate possible future issues down here with DES and other things. So that's kind of the grand scheme, just kind of pointing it out to get any other thoughts, and it's of course money that's coming back. It doesn't have to go towards that. There are other things that can certainly go towards, but that would kind of stick within the realm of infrastructure, as we've been doing, and I think is a good large sum that is probably going to take a large sum, but probably not more than that.
So listening to Emmett talk about that, that's going to need a, what's the term?
Moat, like a moat.
Yes, and
Did I say the word right?
a rubber
Lining.
lining, for lack of a better term. So, do we have a price on what that's?
We have no pricing on what, because that's one thing, well, I think we want, try to get the pricing of what the rest of the road will cost to get up there, and then, yeah, we're supposed to kind of look in to see what other people do
Yep.
around. I mean, it doesn't have to be, we just need to, I mean, now's probably getting close to the right time to be able to get out there when it's not
Right.
snowing.
Yeah, not jumping
Yeah,
ahead anyway, I just
yeah.
kinda wanna get a.
No, for sure, so, probably at the next department head, I should, or maybe in the meantime, get a hold of him and see what he thinks.
Chris came by today and wants to go on the agenda to talk about it at the next meeting, so.
Okay,
Very good.
all right. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up so that it was kind of
Out there?
public knowledge of how the process is working, and so people don't ask, why are we spending money, but that we're supposed to not, like, we're not gonna have to pay because we're getting it funded by the feds and the state. And it's because we do have to pay, they just reimburse us.
Which you have clearly stated
Yeah.
that before, my
Mhm.
so I get it.
But that's kind of the general plan as to where to put it, unless somebody else objects or has a better idea. But anyway, that was kind of the point there. That brings us to public comment, and or I guess board comment, if there's anything else anyone else wants to bring up.
We here first.
That's all right. Nope.
Okay, I just have a quick question, is that allowed?
Please.
Awesome. Dave Potter, live on 64 Guide Ward Hill Road. You guys are aware it's a class 6 road. Question is, in the future, is there going to be a building permit allowed on that road?
That would not be something that we could state for certain, because any sort of building permit or allowance is by the board, and we can't bind a future board, because every board is on its own for its decisions.
You
What-
can't say if there's anybody applied for a building permit down there?
I have not seen a building
Nobody's
permit
applied for
application. Yeah, we haven't gotten an application for one.
Okay. You answered the question, just curious because,
If there's supposed
There's
to be
a-
an application for one, that's different.
right, there's a
Then let
lot,
us
a
know.
5-acre lot down there, and the town auctioned it off. And a buyer bought it, I believe his first name's Peter. And Peter had it surveyed, and then one of his workers came down, and he's in the process of buying it off him. And we talked very briefly, and he believes that he can get a special permit down there.
Technically, it would be possible.
There is a
would-
process, you want me to go for it? That's-
Go for it, yeah, there's technically a
So,
process.
there's a
That doesn't mean we
process.
say yes or no.
There's two things you should be aware of. First is the process that exists as of now, which if they were gonna build on a class 6 road, they would have to approach the select board first. And then the select board would deny them and then refer them to the zoning board of adjustments to get a variance to build on a class 6 road. They would have to sign a waiver. That's a normal process. However, be aware that in the legislature right now, there is a bill that if it passes, would allow them to build on a class 6 road with just a waiver, superseding that entire process. So you should be aware that that exists, because if that bill passes, the town is obligated to follow state law. So if that is something, if you're concerned about, you should contact the I don't know who the representative is, who's in charge of that, or is sponsoring the bill. That would be something you might wanna talk to about. But that's currently the process as it stands, and I think I have talked to the person who's
Right, he's thinking about,
thinking about buying, and I've already gone through the whole process with him. So he knows what to expect, should he
so
want to
at
do
this
that.
moment, as I'm speaking, there's been no permit given.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, that
The,
answers.
the thing that I will state, kind of on the side of all of this, because I know some of your concerns with the road and managing and dealing with the road. The dam area is going through its portion of accepting comments to change their master plan, which currently, but won't, include things like their operating and maintenance. That will be tied to the new master plan in a brand-new set of documents that they plan to do. So definitely make sure that you're aware of that. They're taking comments for, I think, close to is it through this month or part of next month? Something like that.
I think it's,
I know they are.
But they are accepting those comments towards that, so that would be something that I would highly encourage you to participate in.
Okay, I wasn't even aware of it.
Yeah, and that is, yeah, I'm sure we can find and send a link if you reach out, but.
Okay. Did they already have a meeting here at the town?
they
They
did
did.
have a public hearing.
They did?
On their
Yeah.
own,
And we
yes.
did try to call you from the phone number we had on record, and it was disconnected.
Oh, okay.
So we did try to reach out to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they held a public hearing here which basically they just showed what the existing old plan was, and no proposed changes or anything like that. They're in the public hearing and what they call the public comment phase, of things that we should keep this, we should change this, we should look at this sort of thing. When that ends, they will then take a bunch of time as government moves to create a draft new plan, and then they will present that new plan and then accept public comment again. So that is the process. They're just starting that process, so you have plenty of opportunities to provide input, but definitely recommend that you and your neighbors
Yeah, awesome,
should.
thank you for that valuable information. Real quick question, you said it's being voted, is this something voted coming up in this year that they're gonna vote on?
It's currently in either the Senate or the House. I don't know which one.
Okay,
I would
is it
have to
something
look.
that I can find out online?
Yeah,
or
you can look it up on the state's, Secretary of State's website.
Secretary of
It
State?
involves major changes in zoning.
Yeah.
I mean, so
That's not
that's
the
not the
only
only part of it, but, such as lot sizes, several other.
Oh, is it the same one as the lot size change?
It might be the
I
same
think it's
one.
in that same bill.
Let's see if I can quickly find that.
What's
Because
it?
the state's doing some major changes.
Oh, 2.5 acres, right,
State law.
yeah, okay.
It's the first, it's the,
Off Little
right
Hill,
off of
right?
Little Hill, there's Little Road on the right.
Bob Pearson's Sawmill?
Yeah, I know him, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
It's the
yeah.
access to.
Just,
where
can I
the-
ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
With your inquisitiveness, and rightfully so, is there some impact this purchase might have on anything you own at this point, or is there, if not,
Well,
just curious, in case, so we can compare that.
I'll make it quick. We're not opposed to have someone build there.
Yep,
I'm a little sore because I was never notified that they went on the auction block. So I'm a little,
so not to be,
Yeah.
not to be inappropriate, but I picked up on that, that's why I was
Yeah.
just asking the question.
yeah, but that's old news.
Yep. No,
You
I'm
know,
not-
I just, you know.
I'm not trying to dive in the weeds with you.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm opposed you know, having a building permit, especially where a woman, a few years ago, tried to go for a building permit down there on a 25-acre lot, and she was shut down. Were you involved with that one?
I don't know that,
This is
no.
before us.
That
Okay.
must have been before.
All right, that could be, but yeah, she was
I
shut down
recall
for,
it, yeah.
and she had an existing, when she bought it, the town did give her permission to build there, but something happened.
Was this the lot that now belongs to Eric Hansen?
Yes, that's the lot,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. And she was shut down. But it's a whole different ballgame if the state's gonna get involved and change
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, not trying to get any of this.
No, I'm,
Just trying to be fair and open.
no, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you.
But thank you for coming in, I appreciate you answering my questions, and, good job, I got educated today. It was,
I may be wrong, but I believe it's gonna be House Bill 296. The title is Relative to Issuing Building Permits Along Private Roads.
296, I'll write that, you wouldn't have a scrap paper, because I'm gonna forget it.
I can give you one.
Oh, I just wanna write that down, 296.
That is one of the bills of concern this
Yeah.
year.
Is
Awesome.
it just that, Dave, or is it?
House Bill 410
Ooh,
is
please put
also
that,
there
yeah.
for limiting local authority for restrictions.
It's
of
a
building.
whole state
Okay.
zoning.
But yeah, there's a lot of
Oh,
stuff
it's
for
more than
rewriting.
one.
Yeah,
so
awesome, thank you very much.
Those
I
are the ones
appreciate
that
it.
are coming up, that appear that they will directly relate to roads. You should do your own search, but
Okay.
I would probably start with those.
Awesome, hey, I didn't know that until I came here. Again, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See
for
you
Have a good
later.
evening.
Have a good night.
Any further public comment?
No, just curious on that pole that TDS, that dispute, is that a single-owned TDS, or is that a joint-owned pole with a power company?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
Cause like up at our house, they just put a new pole in, and it's not Eversource, it's just TDS.
Just TDS?
Cause it's kind of like in our yard, so we'd like to see.
I don't know the-
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I would
Nomenclature
have
down
to talk to the guy.
That is a good point, though. I didn't even think of that.
In town here,
But the
TDS.
TDS, yeah, I was gonna, go ahead.
TDS owns basically all of the poles and rents out or leases out access to them to all of the
Eversource.
other utilities.
Yeah, well, coming from the telephone company, that's normally, they'll take a section, it's a joint-owned pole, Eversource or Unitil will maintain them, and then another section of town or city, the phone company will maintain them even though they're joint, they're, you know, and you can tell the stencil who's on top owns poles. And other thing is, the solar array. Is there a status on that, on Deer Meadow Road?
Oh, the Deer
The
Meadow
big-
solar
yeah.
array?
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't really heard much other than
I
that
think
they
that's
didn't
done.
pay much, they didn't pay to extend their lease
Oh,
option.
yeah.
So, we don't have any official confirmation that they're done, but we're pretty sure they're done.
Yeah.
Cause I think Barbara was in talking to me about
Yeah.
that today, and how she was regretting that it didn't happen, she was
Yeah.
hoping for it.
Would have been nice,
It would've been.
Yeah,
would have given us some nice revenue.
that was the key with their tax revenue.
But, all right. So then, that moves us on to motions and approvals, unless there are other topics from the board?
Just one question.
Yes.
I wanna make it quick. Have you heard from Verizon?
No. I've tried contacting the other one, still nothing, I'm gonna call Verizon directly and see if I can get them to get.
I would like to, you know,
Yeah,
put your efforts to work there.
yeah.
Really like to see somebody talk to us about the clarity of exactly what's happening and where we're going.
Because I think I'm gonna end up having to go through the phone boards, customer service through Verizon in order to get a hold of
Just
them.
ask to, you know, ask to speak to a manager, you probably have, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was trying to contact the people who worked with their permits on the poles to see if they knew somebody who'd come and talk, but they haven't responded to me.
But we've agreed to do the permit, right?
Yeah, the permit was before you got on the board, it was like a couple weeks before you got on the
Yeah,
board.
again, not to go back in time, I think before we do any more permits for cell towers.
Well, that was one of the ones that we were, like, you're basically you're supposed to just approve it because they're
Right.
upgrading what's already there without increasing any size.
There's
and
limitations
so
on what the town can require on a permit like that. For the
If it
renewal.
were a new
New
cell
is,
tower, we could do all of that,
Okay.
but just upgrading existing.
You understand my concern?
Equipment. Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
no, it has never hurt to ask.
Yeah,
I'm surprised we didn't have something like that initially, but I wasn't on the board whenever
well, those
that
went up
happened. Ages ago.
ages ago, 20+ years ago.
Yep. So,
my phone still doesn't work, so that's the reason. And
Really?
many other people's don't
Well, when
either.
the guy came in to talk about it, he said with the one up there, the hope was to get Verizon through the whole town,
Yeah.
did service, but I would really, when I asked my question, I asked, so what's the timeline for that to happen? Because I think that's one of your big concerns, is you wanna know when you can expect to see service.
I think as a municipality, it's a mutual collaborative operating situation. And I appreciate Dave filling me in, and I'm not that familiar with the law, and I appreciate you saying that, or the rules and regulations, but I think we just need to be, you know, before we go approving things, what are you putting in, how's it gonna affect us? I'm sure you did that, but, you know, I think there's a lot of people out there with Verizon phones, have to
You
step
just
out on
like,
the
you just
porch.
like to ladder, you know, get them to work with you.
Point made, I mean, it's not.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing
and-
unreasonable
No.
about what I'm asking.
Not a bit,
You know,
not a bit.
every city in this country does it, you know, when they've got multiple fire stations and multiple police departments, and, you know, I just, you know, I hear AT&T and even the fire chief police chief educated me on the AT&T thing. But if AT&T now controls the towers, why are we approving a permit for Verizon, if you know what I'm saying?
Well, AT&T doesn't control the towers. It's-
Well, I'd like
It's
to hear
owned by
that.
Horizon Holding, who leases to AT&T and leases to
Okay.
Verizon, and,
But you understand?
yeah, I understand what you're
I'd like
saying.
some education.
And many cell companies do own their own towers as opposed to doing the leases. But as part of the combination of net neutrality and other sorts of FCC restrictions, if there's a tower, you must allow competition on it for reasonable cost. So they are required to be open to allowing others.
Mhm.
Of course, if a new company were to come and say, we're gonna add an additional array, then we can talk
Right.
further about things, but.
But I think we should be able to hopefully get somebody to come out. I don't wanna guarantee.
I just wanna be
but I
educated,
just,
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it'd be really nice for them to come
it
out.
would
'cause-
be, but
'cause
it's
that-
also,
It would be the smart thing for them to do.
yeah.
Um,
I
it's a
might
good question.
phrase it that we're looking for more new opportunities to increase the Verizon service in town, and maybe I can get somebody to bite on that.
Well, I think, without delving, again, my favorite term, delving, jumping into the weeds, about 5,000 feet, I think we have a good reason to,
Yeah,
you know, you and I have talked about that.
right. I just, and Dana's heard me this, I get frustrated when I send people emails and then I call them and then I just never
Well, I do
hear
too.
back.
If we're approving things and we're trying to work collaboratively, I think there's
Well, I
a
just
duty
know-
there to, yeah.
From me, if somebody asks me, this, if, I don't know who I'm supposed to talk to, and somebody contacts me and says, I don't know where I'm supposed to go, could you help me? The answer is, oh yeah, it's this person over here.
Right.
And if they don't know,
If
they
I don't know, I'll
probably-
find the answer for you, and I
I'll
hate the
find
term
it.
it's above my pay level, because nothing's above your pay
Yeah.
level. Yeah. Just where I stand, but that's, thank you though for
Yeah.
trying. If you would continue to do that, I appreciate it.
All right.
All right, correspondences. Publix,
Yeah. Oh,
Maybe-
that's falling apart.
what's happening?
Yeah.
You got your folder open, I can see that. See, you're
Right.
probably bad you put me so close to you now.
I know, that's dangerous.
What's in there?
We
What
have
we
the
got there,
select board
Dana?
minutes to, I'm gonna show you in a minute, but I don't want you to, I don't want my surprise spoil too soon.
I found myself, oh.
Well, these are completely private documents.
I know, I know, they're gonna have to sit me on the other side again.
Good thing we don't have microphones, Dana would shut me off.
Yeah,
So would you like to do the minutes?
Sure. I was not here for them, as unfortunately I was still traveling, so.
Or fortunately.
I would encourage that people who were here and looked at the minutes, first and second a motion to pass them.
I would make a motion to pass the minutes from the last meeting.
I would second that.
I did review them, so.
Are there any amendments needed?
Any spelling?
All right, all
I
in
messed
favor?
up. Look at you got an A.
All in
Nobody
favor?
said aye.
Oh, aye, sorry.
Aye,
Aye.
sorry.
Okay, cool.
So I do have documents for you to sign. This is a thank you letter to John Collins for fixing the quilt display, which is
Ah.
over there. He fixed the broken,
Ah,
one of the broken glass
sweet.
panes. This, I always give that to Russ,
We've
cause I
got
can't
3
figure that
timber
out.
bills to sign.
This is the, Unitil bills that I paid.
Speaking of fixing things, when are we expecting the painting and such here?
I don't have an exact date, but I have communicated with him, and as soon as their season opens up, he will be getting in touch with me.
I'm not missing a page on this one.
That one when you're done.
I'm missing a page on one. I'm missing warrant.
Is it the one that we need to sign?
Oh,
Or is
never
it-
mind, there's the warrant.
Is it one we need to sign, or just one that's in a copy in the other page?
Oh, no, I'm just bringing you one copy. Karen likes an original, and I don't care if that's a copy.
Oh, okay.
I've determined I'm not gonna make you sign a million times.
Thank you.
I try.
Yeah, and the way they do it anyways, everything's email.
Yeah. Well, I keep everything digitally. I know they have my little backup book, but everything's on my computer in files. I keep a little folder.
These are
with every
the
tab.
timber taxes.
Correct.
There are 2 locations to sign on them. And I always just click tomorrow to make sure they make sense before I sign them.
Marla, did you go over this?
Yes.
Well, look to your expertise of logging to.
It doesn't look, I mean,
And I know she thinks they should always be 0, but.
there
But
is,
that would take
there is
legislation.
there is, well, right, there is a limit to it, and there is a lot of fun that,
No, you're good with it, that's what.
Russ, this is yours as well. I'm gonna give that to you.
Oh, yeah.
Handle.
Oh, yes. So this is another tax credit and exemption. So I didn't have a piece of information, they dropped the application, but I didn't have one of the pieces approved before the first meeting of the month. But I got it before April 15th. It's for a solar exemption, they provided me the proof, which is Tom signing off that the solar's there. So I just need to,
Didn't sign.
Oh, listen to watch me. Well, I didn't wanna see if you were paying attention.
Oh,
Yeah.
this will be our last exemption or credit for the
This is
year.
right. Yep, print, and type in,
that's- Right.
print and sign.
Tomorrow.
have that back.
Take it upstairs.
Which way is this?
Oh, it's on the front. I don't know how much the credit's gonna be for yet, because I hand that one to the assessors to determine, because it's 100% of the value of the solar panels. And that's a brand new one, so they haven't even assessed it yet.
This solar panels though? What are they out back?
I think it might
I
be.
drive by that house every day, I've never seen them.
It might be-
They're on the ground. Then when
Well, I
the
know
road
it's
gets
solar,
done-
how would I miss that?
Wow.
This is Pitney Bowes, I paid a bill.
You paid a bill and you liked it.
Oh, whoops. I signed and then printed.
I just print on the other line. You know, nobody's gonna see this for 5 years. And I don't think the DRA is gonna ding me because
Because I can't read before I
you
sign.
signed in the print, I didn't
I
sign.
never know.
That's true, I don't.
Well, by then I won't be on the board anymore, so I'll be then.
I was still shocked, and I still tell this to Dana every time it comes up. They come in and they're like, oh,
Have a
I
nice
can't
evening.
believe you did all the stuff we asked you to
See ya.
do. And I'm like, what, you mean, that's an option, I didn't have to do it? Because generally when people tell me, that's your job, do this, I do it.
Am I supposed to sign this?
No, it's just the proof, if you want to see it.
I believe you.
Wes, did you ever hear from Susan Roberts about ZBA?
She does want to be reappointed, I thought I
Okay.
told you that.
Okay.
And I'm missing one timber bill. Is that on the bottom? Is that-
Bear with me, right.
'cause we-
Oh, really?
No, I don't have a timber bill here.
Well, you got.
Oh,
Right here,
I stole
right
it,
here. Yeah,
I
alright.
stole it. I just wanna make sure I have
Oh, nice.
everything. We do like revenue. Or Dana likes revenue.
I like revenue, yeah.
So we'll have to see if we start building up financial credits after this for the Unitil bills. Because we'll be going on to the less expensive service
Yes.
for the next
For the
few
next-
months,
the-
because we're on the variable
The next
rate now.
billing should be on the
Next set of suckers.
Unitil.
Let's see, planning board, zoning board, and zoning board. All right, awesome. Oh, this is already signed. Send that back over.
Thank you. Do you want me to keep those and give them to you
Oh,
tomorrow?
you can, that's fine. I would appreciate that.
Okay. Did a very nice job of that.
Well, I try to be efficient.
Those timber ones, those, they're over my head.
Oh, yeah, well, the good news is I've kinda got it down to a science
Too
of
many
how to
pieces
do
of
it,
paper.
so it's like,
All right.
That is all I have. I do have, two separate items for non-public.
Here, I thought we were gonna be at around 8 o'clock.
Well, I don't think this is gonna take long.
just go through the non-publics
All right.
really fast.
There
Why
we
not?
go.
Gonna be
You know why?
under-
All right, do we have any further public business to do?
No, I'm good.
Not for me, no.
Okay. So what is the reason for the non-publics?
We need two non-publics. One is reputation,
Mhm.
and the other is personnel.
Okay. Which one do we wanna do first?
Personnel.
Okay, So I'd move that we enter into non-public at 8:07 for personnel. And that we need to be a roll call vote.
Yes.
I also need a second.
I second.
Okay, and so the roll call.
Marlo Herrick. It's like,
Yes or no?
yes.
Dave Hemingway, yes.
Try.
It's a trick question.
And so for everybody, we will come back into public session to then go into the other non-public session. And when that is done, we'll come out of public session and close the meeting entirely. So there will not be a continuation of the live stream, and that will be all.